Day 13. Genesis 31-32. Now Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken away all that belonged to our father and built all this wealth at our father's expense. And Jacob saw from the countenance of Laban that his attitude toward him had changed. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Go back to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent word and called Rachel and Leah to the field where his flocks were, and he told them, I can see from your father's countenance that his attitude toward me has changed, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength. And although he has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times, God has not allowed him to harm me. If he said, The speckled will be your wages, then the whole flock bore speckled offspring. If he said, The streaked will be your wages, then the whole flock bore streaked offspring. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. When the flocks were breeding, I saw in a dream that the streaked, spotted, and speckled males were mating with the females. In that dream the angel of God said to me, Jacob. And I replied, Here I am. Look up, he said, and see that all the males that are mating with the flock are streaked, spotted, or speckled, for I have seen all that Laban has done to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and made a solemn vow to me. Now get up and leave this land at once, and return to your native land. And Rachel and Leah replied, Do we have any portion or inheritance left in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as outsiders? Not only has he sold us, but he has certainly squandered what was paid for us. Surely all the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. So do whatever God has told you. Then Jacob got up and put his children and his wives on camels, and he drove all his livestock before him, along with all the possessions he had acquired in Paddan-aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land in Canaan. Now while Laban was out shearing his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household idols. Moreover, Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was running away. So he fled with all his possessions, crossed the Euphrates, and headed for the hill country of Gilead. On the third day Laban was informed that Jacob had fled. So he took his relatives with him, pursued Jacob for 7 days, and overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But that night God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream and warned him, Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country of Gilead when Laban overtook him, and Laban and his relatives camped there as well. Then Laban said to Jacob, What have you done? You have deceived me and carried off my daughters like captives of war. Why did you run away secretly and deceive me, without even telling me? I would have sent you away with joy and singing, with tambourines and harps. But you did not even let me kiss my grandchildren and my daughters goodbye. Now you have done a foolish thing. I have power to do you great harm, but last night the God of your father said to me, Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. Now you have gone off because you long for your father's house. But why have you stolen my gods? I was afraid, Jacob answered, for I thought you would take your daughters from me by force. If you find your gods with anyone here, he shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, see for yourself if anything is yours, and take it back. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the idols. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, then Leah's tent, and then the tents of the 2 maidservants, but he found nothing. Then he left Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken Laban's household idols, put them in the saddlebag of her camel, and was sitting on them. And Laban searched everything in the tent but found nothing. Rachel said to her father, Sir, do not be angry that I cannot stand up before you, for I am having my period. So Laban searched, but could not find the household idols. Then Jacob became incensed and challenged Laban. What is my crime? He said. For what sin of mine have you so hotly pursued me? You have searched all my goods. Have you found anything that belongs to you? Put it here before my brothers and yours, that they may judge between the two of us. I have been with you for 20 years now. Your sheep and goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flock. I did not bring you anything torn by wild beasts, I bore the loss myself. And you demanded payment from me for what was stolen by day or night. As it was, the heat consumed me by day and the frost by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. Thus for 20 years I have served in your household, 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been with me, surely by now you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, and last night he rendered judgment. But Laban answered Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, these sons are my sons, and these flocks are my flocks. Everything you see is mine. Yet what can I do today about these daughters of mine or the children they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it serve as a witness between you and me. So Jacob picked out a stone and set it up as a pillar, and he said to his relatives, Gather some stones. So they took stones and made a mound, and there by the mound they ate. Laban called it Jegar-Sahadutha, and Jacob called it Gilead. Then Laban declared, This mound is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore the place was called Gilead. It was also called Mizpah, because Laban said, May the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are absent from each other. If you mistreat my daughters or take other wives, although no one is with us, remember that God is a witness between you and me. Laban also said to Jacob, Here is the mound, and here is the pillar I have set up between you and me. This mound is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not go past this mound to harm you, and you will not go past this mound and pillar to harm me. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his relatives to eat a meal. And after they had eaten, they spent the night on the mountain. Early the next morning, Laban got up and kissed his grandchildren and daughters and blessed them. Then he left to return home. Jacob also went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, This is the camp of God. So he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead of him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. He instructed them, You are to say to my master Esau, Your servant Jacob says, I have been staying with Laban and have remained there until now. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, menservants, and maidservants. I have sent this message to inform my master, so that I may find favor in your sight. When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, We went to your brother Esau, and now he is coming to meet you, he and 400 men with him. In great fear and distress. Jacob divided his people into 2 camps, as well as the flocks and herds and camels. He thought, If Esau comes and attacks one camp, then the other camp can escape. Then Jacob declared, O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, the Lord who told me, Go back to your country and to your kindred, and I will make you prosper. I am unworthy of all the kindness and faithfulness you have shown your servant. Indeed, with only my staff I came across the Jordan, but now I have become 2 camps. Please deliver me from the hand of my brother Esau, for I am afraid that he may come and attack me and the mothers and children with me. But you have said, I will surely make you prosper, and I will make your offspring like the sand of the sea, too numerous to count. Jacob spent the night there, and from what he had brought with him, he selected a gift for his brother Esau, 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He entrusted them to his servants in separate herds and told them, Go on ahead of me, and keep some distance between the herds. He instructed the one in the lead, When my brother Esau meets you and asks, To whom do you belong, where are you going, and whose animals are these before you? Then you are to say, They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a gift, sent to my lord Esau. And behold, Jacob is behind us. He also instructed the second, the third, and all those following behind the herds, When you meet Esau, you are to say the same thing to him. You are also to say, Look, your servant Jacob is right behind us. For he thought, I will appease Esau with the gift that is going before me. After that I can face him, and perhaps he will accept me. So Jacob's gifts went on before him, while he spent the night in the camp. During the night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, along with all his possessions. So Jacob was left all alone, and there a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower Jacob, he struck the socket of Jacob's hip and dislocated it as they wrestled. Then the man said, Let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. Jacob, he replied. Then the man said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed. And Jacob requested, Please tell me your name. But he replied, Why do you ask my name? Then he blessed Jacob there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, Indeed, I have seen God face to face, and yet my life was spared. The sun rose above him as he passed by Penuel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore to this day the Israelites do not eat the tendon which is at the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was struck near that tendon. Matthew 9 verses 18 to 38. While Jesus was saying these things, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him. My daughter has just died, he said. But come and place your hand on her, and she will live. So Jesus got up and went with him, along with his disciples. Suddenly a woman who had suffered from bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. She said to herself, If only I touch his cloak, I will be healed. Jesus turned and saw her. Take courage, daughter, he said, your faith has healed you. And the woman was cured from that very hour. When Jesus entered the house of the synagogue leader, he saw the flute players and the noisy crowd. Go away, he told them. The girl is not dead, but asleep. And they laughed at him. After the crowd had been put outside, Jesus went in and took the girl by the hand, and she got up. And the news about this spread throughout that region. As Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying out, Have mercy on us, Son of David. After Jesus had entered the house, the blind men came to him. Do you believe that I am able to do this? He asked. Yes, Lord, they answered. Then he touched their eyes and said, According to your faith will it be done to you. And their eyes were opened. Jesus warned them sternly, See that no one finds out about this. But they went out and spread the news about him throughout the land. As they were leaving, a demon-possessed man who was mute was brought to Jesus. And when the demon had been driven out, the man began to speak. The crowds were amazed and said, Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel. But the Pharisees said, It is by the prince of demons that he drives out demons. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he was moved with compassion for them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest.